Welcome to RealCast, live from EXPO Real. Just take a view on what we've seen here, just in terms of some of the takeaways. Certainly my takeaway has been a little more positive actually than I was expecting. Big focus around ESG, social value, and we'll pick that up. But actually, much more positive, an acceptance that there's less transactions, but I think people are beginning to view more market activity coming through. Just from your point of view, Guillaume, what have you seen here from that investor perspective?
I completely share the view that I would say everyone here was way more optimistic, especially versus the summer with what happened with notably some open-ended funds and versus the atmosphere at MIPIM. And I think everyone has accepted that what we've been living through the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years was a complete anomaly of what all the seasoned, I would say, professionals that were sharing their expertise and their views have seen over the last 40, 50 years. So we're welcome back to reality where, money has a price. There's risks in real estate, but the mood is more optimistic. We tend to see more transactions come into the market, more refinancing happening. So I think, in looking at 2024 and obviously 2025, I think the transactions levels are going to pick up and the real estate risk is going to be back. So it's, I would say, back to reality.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, that back to reality. I definitely saw a sense of that, where the market is beginning to accept the position and begin to move with that. And Judi, you were obviously out and about in the halls, which were all busy, I have to say, picking up news for the Expo Day newspaper here. I guess what were some of the things that you picked up from that?
Yeah, well, I agree with both of you that the mood was much more upbeat than I had expected when I first arrived. From the first day, I mean, it was the halls were really busy, and people seemed to be jolly rather than depressed. So that was interesting to see. I think there is that acceptance that there is still a bit of repricing, that needs to come through. But, on the whole, I think people do expect the market to come back. There are different views on when exactly. Some people are saying 2025. So others are saying maybe in the first quarter of next year, 2024. But almost everybody seems to be agreed it's not going to happen in this quarter. So we're looking, to the next year to see more activity.
Yeah, a lot of focus as well. We had a number of sessions around debt finance, those kinds of areas. And I think, again, an acceptance there of the realities in the market, but also a consciousness that it's very different to the global financial crisis, and that actually liquidity is there in the market at the moment. But again, very similar for the financing side, that there's waiting for the market to stabilize, for valuations to get in tune, as exactly as you were saying there with some of the realities in the market at the moment. Big focus as well around ESG, social value, those kinds of areas, Ron, and that was certainly picked up in some of the sessions that we were running.
Yeah, I think the session from the Senior Housing and Healthcare Association, also Real Asset Impact, it was actually driven by one topic. So we shifted from decarbonization to social impact. And I think that's also what we're trying to search for, outperformance on ESG, with a big challenge: how can we measure? And what are we measuring? And on what level? Is it on asset level, on society level? And I think one of the key topics is valuation. So that could be the game changer, because if we invest and we have a clear valuation perspective, so not a split incentive issue, and also tackling that one, I think that could be the game changer also from the crossover from PropCo to OpCo. And I think operational real estate is also maturing. So from alternatives to core asset classes, both on student housing, but also senior living and healthcare real estate. So I'm actually very positive, and also the family feeling of like-minded people, also like the impact. We launched the community of impact, there is such a momentum and also a willingness to collaborate. So that's a very positive takeaway from my side.
Yeah, and a lot of focus, I think, on social value, and interesting that the investors really very much aligned with the cities on that, and also the role that technology plays in that. Had a very interesting session around digital twins, technology, how that was influencing it, but also discussions along with Jeroen Dijsselbloem, for example, who's the mayor of Eindhoven, but formerly obviously Dutch finance minister, and being able to take some of the investment concerns along with actually how we begin to make those changes. And obviously, Sander, from your point of view, you're looking at the Proptech side of it. What was your takeaway? Do you think there's more engagement in those areas? Because certainly I was beginning to see that as we move more from talking about it to actually people wanting to implement.
Yeah. Generally for Chainels as a Proptech company, I'm really happy about this edition of EXPO Real. So we noticed that people are indeed more open towards innovation. Also quite some real estate companies hired a dedicated point of contact, like a chief digital transformation officer or someone really looking in that area. And I think 2.5 years ago, Corona was really a driver for us to gain more market share and to get traction, because there was really an urgency in the market to do things differently. And this year, you really notice that ESG is high up on the agenda. So there's really another compelling reason for real estate companies to start with innovation. So really good to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that certainly came through in a lot of discussions we had with investors. Certainly interesting to get also some of the global views from LaSalle and investment management and Schroders coming through, and also Redevco pointing out what they're doing in the cities and how they can make that transformation. And one interesting point I thought as well was in terms of the implementation of ESG, people like Robbie Epsom appearing at CBRE Investment Managers, so with a completely different background in terms of consultancy to really drive that implementation through. And you can see that beginning to drill down through all of the areas. Thanks very much for your insights. Great to have everybody here at EXPO Real and to run RealCast live from EXPO Real. Thanks very much for everybody for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in the next edition. Thank you.